Chapter 38-44. Everybody was dumbstruck. They knew that this time, it wasn't Lu Ming who had kicked an iron plate, it was the Bloodskull pirates who had kicked an iron plate. Run! The remaining 4 godly emperors of the first godly emperor layer and a few quasi-emperors of the Bloodskull pirates were terrified. They came back to their senses and started running away. They were scared to death. How terrifying! Cultivators of the second godly emperor layer had been killed so easily. How could they be killed so easily? You want to run? Ling Yuwei looked furious. When she thought about the Bloodskull pirates, she was furious. She wanted to kill them. At this moment, he knocked an arrow on his bow and shot out several arrows. A few quasi-emperors were pierced by the arrows and died. Even a cultivator of the first godly emperor layer was pierced by the arrows and died in midair. Leave them to me, Xiao Wuji grinned. His eyes were filled with murder. He rose up in the air, and a few gloomy lights emerged from his hands and flew towards the cultivators of the first godly emperor layer. Leave one alive, shouted Lu Ming. He rose up in the air and threw himself at the tall and sturdy man who had talked to them at the beginning. Aya! 2 horrible shrieks spread in the air. The other 2 cultivators of the first godly emperor layer had already been killed by Xiao Wuji. Back in the days, the Purple Sun Prefecture was strong enough to kill ordinary cultivators of the first godly emperor layer. The Purple Sun Prefecture was only a little famous among the quasi-emperors of the primitive universe. They were far from being on the list of the top 100 quasi-emperors. Xiao Wuji was even stronger than Xue Ming, who was ranked 11th. He could easily kill ordinary cultivators of the first godly emperor layer. Killing cultivators of the second godly emperor layer wasn't difficult either. Even for Ling Yuwei and Lu Ming, it was not difficult to kill an ordinary second-level divine emperor realm expert. Just now was proof. Only the tall and sturdy man was left in the Bloodskull pirates. He was running away as fast as he could, burning his godly strength to increase his speed. Unfortunately, he wasn't as strong as Lu Ming. Under the support of the Great God Wind technique, Lu Ming was like a ghost. With a few flashes, he caught up with the burly man. I'll kill you. The burly man saw that he couldn't escape, so he simply stopped. He roared, and slashed his saber towards Lu Ming. Clang! Lu Ming threw a punch at the battle saber. With a cracking sound, the battle saber broke into pieces. The burly big shot screamed miserably. His arms exploded as he retreated rapidly. Mercy, please spare my life. The burly man suddenly roared and began to beg for mercy. Seeing that he was about to be killed, the burly man was scared to death. He didn't care about his dignity anymore. Hihi, leaving behind a coward, my luck is not bad. Lu Ming laughed in his heart, but his hands did not stop. He punched the tall and sturdy big mountain. The tall and sturdy big mountain was heavily injured, and his aura withered. Spare my life, the burly man continued to shout. Now, what will you answer when I ask you a question? Cooperate with me, and I won't kill you. Lu Ming stared at the tall and sturdy big mountain. Okay, I'll tell you everything. I'll tell you everything. The tall and sturdy big mountain shouted. The consequences of betraying the Bloodskull pirates were very serious. However, he couldn't care less now. At worst, he would just find a remote place to hide. Let me ask you, how did you find me? Is it the curse power you mentioned? Can you track the curse power? Lu Ming asked the first question. This was the question he was most concerned about. If the Bloodskull pirates could track the curse power, he would have endless trouble in the future. No, we can't track the curse power. We only found you when we ran into you. If we didn't run into you, we wouldn't have found you. The tall and sturdy big mountain answered quickly. Hearing the tall and sturdy big mountain's answer, Lu Ming heaved a sigh of relief. The tall and sturdy big mountain couldn't track him. They had just run into the Bloodskull pirates. It could only be said that his luck wasn't very good. The universe was vast and boundless, but he had run into the Bloodskull pirates here. What are you people from the Bloodskull pirates doing here? Lu Ming continued to ask. We're here to attack the Black Sand planet of the Lingheng sect and seize some soul jade. The tall and sturdy big mountain replied. With just the few of you? Lu Ming expressed his doubts. Of course not. We're just one of the groups. The real main force is still behind us and will arrive soon. There are many experts in the main force. People like me are nothing at all, the tall and sturdy Big Mountain replied. He didn't forget to brag about the Bloodskull pirates, and there was a hint of threat in his words. The meaning was very simple. The main force of the Bloodskull pirates would arrive soon. There were many experts, and you'd better let me go quickly. Otherwise, it wouldn't be good for you. After saying that, the tall and sturdy Big Mountain looked at Lu Ming nervously. Scram! Lu Ming waved his hand and let go of the tall and sturdy Big Mountain. The tall and sturdy Big Mountain was overjoyed and hurriedly flew into the distance. At the same time, his mind became active. Before, he only had one thought, and that was to stabilize Lu Ming and protect his life. As for whether he would be retaliated by the Bloodskull pirates later on, he didn't care. But now that Lu Ming had let him go, his thoughts changed. He thought that he would go back and bring the Bloodskull pirates to kill Lu Ming, Ling Yue, and Shou Wuji to make up for his mistakes. Brat, just wait for your death. The tall and sturdy Big Mountain's eyes flashed with a trace of ferocious killing intent. Bang! At this moment, an arrow pierced through the back of the tall and sturdy Big Mountain's head. The tall and sturdy Big Mountain's eyes widened, filled with unwillingness. Then, his vitality was cut off and he fell to the ground. I said that I wouldn't make a move, but I didn't say that others wouldn't. Lu Ming muttered. Ling Yue and Shou Wuji smiled faintly. The one who made a move just now was naturally Ling Yue. They were all smart people. When Lu Ming said that he wouldn't make a move, they understood what Lu Ming meant. It seems that the Bloodskull pirates are going to attack Black Sand Star. Let's just sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight. Lu Ming said. Ling Yue and Shou Wuji nodded. Perhaps, they could take advantage of the chaos to enter the medium-class world of Black Sand Star. The three of them didn't stay and quickly left. Of course, the rumors about the three of them quickly spread. However, the attention of the people in this area was mostly attracted by the Bloodskull pirates. Lu Ming and the other two could only be said to be three peerless monsters who accidentally wandered here. However, the large-scale appearance of the Bloodskull pirates here was related to their lives. Lu Ming and the other two found a small city to stay in and paid close attention to the situation of Black Sand Star. The Bloodskull pirates seemed to know that they had been exposed and sped up their movements. In a few days, they rushed to Black Sand Star and launched an attack. However, not long after, a piece of news spread out. The Bloodskull pirates retreated in defeat and suffered heavy injuries in the process of attacking Black Sand Star. Chapter 3845. When the Bloodskull pirates attacked Black Sand Planet, they suffered heavy losses. The Linghung sect had long been prepared. They had ambushed a large number of experts on Black Sand Planet to kill the Bloodskull pirates. The Bloodskull pirates had suffered heavy losses. It was said that dozens of divine emperors had died and fled in a sorry state. When Lu Ming, Ling Yue, and Shou Wuji heard this news, they secretly rejoiced that they didn't act rashly. The strength of the Linghung sect was still above their imagination. They definitely couldn't attack by force, but they still had a chance. Every once in a while, the Linghung sect would recruit a group of people to enter the medium-class world of Black Sand Planet to hunt soul beasts and obtain soul jades. The next recruitment was said to be in 2 years. 2 years was just a blink of an eye to everyone. Lu Ming and the other two stayed on this small planet, constantly paying attention to the news of the Linghung sect and Black Sand Planet. Lu Ming naturally wouldn't waste these 2 years. He chose a secret place and wholeheartedly cultivated the great art of fragmentation. Ling Yue and Shou Wuji also went into seclusion, looking forward to improving their battle prowess. The matter of exploring the life-spirit heavenly court would definitely not be smooth sailing. One's own battle prowess was very important. Every bit that could be raised was a bit. While Lu Ming was comprehending the great art of fragmentation with all his might, time flew by. In the blink of an eye, 2 years had passed. Without the environment where he cultivated the great god wind technique, his improvement naturally wouldn't be that fast. However, it still allowed the great art of fragmentation to improve by a large margin. He wasn't too far away from the entry level. If he used it with Lu Ming's full strength, his strength would also increase by quite a bit. At this time, Lu Ming, Ling Yuwei, and Xiao Wuji came out of seclusion and headed towards Black Sand Planet together. Black Sand Planet, Evil Soul City. It was very lively with a sea of people. That medium-class world was called the Evil Soul Realm. Therefore, the city built next to it was called the Evil Soul City. Entering the Evil Soul Realm to hunt soul beasts and obtain soul jades, one could keep 30% of them. This was a great temptation and naturally attracted many people. At the registration point, there was a long line. Let me tell you all, the Evil Soul Realm isn't a safe place. Without a certain level of strength, it's very dangerous to enter. Therefore, it's best to have a cultivation of 7th level Divine Lord and above go in. Only then can you have some gains. However, if you are confident in yourselves and insist on entering, we will not stop you. You are responsible for your own life and death. At the registration counter, a burly man shouted loudly. Those whose cultivation bases were too weak hesitated for a moment before deciding to give up. However, more people chose to continue. Register your names and cultivation bases, and then line up in the square inside, the brawny man continued to shout. One by one, the registration was done very quickly. Soon, it was Lu Ming and the others' turn. Naturally, they casually made up a fake name. After all, the people of the Lingheng sect wouldn't investigate. After registering, Lu Ming and the others went to a square in the back and waited quietly. After a few hours, there were already a few thousand people in the square. You guys, come with us first. At this moment, a group of people arrived. Each of them had a strong aura. They were experts of the Lingheng sect. Lu Ming and the others followed the experts of the Lingheng sect and left the Evil Soul City. They headed north of the Evil Soul City and soon arrived at a huge canyon. Many experts. Lu Ming secretly sensed and discovered that there were many experts lying in ambush around the canyon. Among them, there was no lack of Divine Emperor Realm experts. He knew that they were all experts of the Lingheng sect. Walking into the valley, when they reached the depths of the valley, they saw a huge whirlpool. Lu Ming, Ling Yuwei, and Xiao Wuji's eyes flashed. This was the entrance to the Evil Soul Realm, right? Was this Evil Soul Realm the target they were looking for? Was it a treasure land left behind by the Life Spirit Heavenly Court? Let's go in. An old man from the Lingheng sect announced. Swoosh, 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 thousands of experts moved. They turned into streaks of rainbow light and rushed into the whirlpool. Lu Ming and the other two blended into the crowd and also rushed into the whirlpool and disappeared. In the next moment, Lu Ming and the others arrived at a strange world. This world was dark. In the sky, there was a blood moon, scattering blood-red light. Heaven and earth were filled with a strange energy. This energy was not divine qi, but more like the energy of the soul. Let's go and find Spirit Beast. Hurry up, not every Spirit Beast has a soul jade. We need to rely on luck. Many people flew into the distance. Of course, most of these people formed groups of 3 or 5 and formed teams. There was also a portion of people who did not move. Because these people had not formed a team yet. In the Evil Soul Realm, forming a team to hunt spirit beasts and obtain soul jades was much more efficient than fighting alone. Brother, let's form a team. Come with me, I'm at the first layer of the Divine Emperor Realm. The rest of the people also began to form teams. Of course, some Divine Emperor Realm people were easy to form teams. Many people joined one after another. Soon, a team was formed and discussed the distribution method. The 3 of you, are you interested in forming a team? At that moment, a bald old man came over, glanced at Lu Ming and the others and smiled. This bald old man did not hide his qi, he was at the first layer of the Divine Emperor Realm. Not interested. Ling Yuwei directly refused. The bald old man's face stiffened and said, the 3 of you, I can see that you have not reached the Divine Emperor Realm. It is not safe in the Evil Soul Realm. There are many Divine Emperor Realm spirit beasts. Without the protection of a Divine Emperor Realm expert, you will not be able to move an inch. The bald old man thought that Lu Ming and the others were young people who had come out to gain experience. They did not understand the dangers of the outside world. No need, the three of us are strong enough. Please go ahead. Xiao Wuji waved his hand and smiled. Mate, a newborn calf is not afraid of a tiger. Don't regret it when you encounter danger. The bald old man snorted coldly. With a wave of his sleeve, he returned to his group and left with his people. So, what's the plan? Ling Yuwei looked at Lu Ming and Xiao Wuji. I don't have a plan. Lu Ming spread his hands. I don't have a plan for now. Let's walk around this world first. Xiao Wuji said. Then, the three of them randomly chose a direction and flew away. The Evil Soul Realm was a medium-class world. Its territory was very vast. Compared to a small world, it was many times bigger and more stable. After the three of them flew for a while, the number of people gradually decreased. Rumble. Suddenly, the ground shook and exploded. A few giant tentacles stretched out and swept towards the three of them. Spirit Beast. Quasi-Emperor. The three of them were startled. Whoosh. Lu Ming made his move. A sword light condensed at the tip of his finger and slashed out. The sword light flashed and the tentacles were cut in half. Then, the sword light changed its direction and slashed towards the ground. Book Guest House Reading Website. Chapter 3846. Lu Ming slashed the ground with his sword, creating a deep pit that was a few 100 miles long. It was unknown how deep it was. A scream came from the ground, and blue blood splattered. A huge octopus-like spirit beast was cut in half by the sword and died on the spot. Lu Ming's eyes moved, and he reached out his hand to grab the air. Below, a crystal the size of an egg was caught by Lu Ming. The crystal was crystal clear, like a blue crystal. Is this the soul jade? Lu Ming murmured. This was a good thing. Lu Ming kept it. Next, they continued to move forward. From time to time, they would be attacked by spirit beasts. However, the strength of these spirit beasts was not very high. Most of them were below the Divine Emperor realm. They only met one at the first layer of the Divine Emperor realm. It was not a threat to them and was easily dealt with. A few hours later, they had already traveled an unknown distance. Suddenly, a divine light flashed in front of them. More than 10 figures flew towards Lu Ming and the others. In the blink of an eye, they arrived beside Lu Ming and the others, surrounding Lu Ming and the others. These guys, Lu Ming and the others' eyes flashed as they recognized these people. These people, like them, had just come in from outside to hunt spirit beasts. They also recognized one of them. It was the bald old man who had invited Lu Ming and the others to form a team, but was rejected by Lu Ming and the others. Haha, it's really these guys. Our luck is good. These people surrounded Lu Ming and the rest, laughing heartily. Their expressions were playful and relaxed. What do you want? Ling Yuwei frowned slightly and said coldly. Nothing, I just want your storage rings, and the treasures you have hidden in your divine sense. The bald man said, his eyes flashing with greed. He concluded that Lu Ming and the others were just young disciples of some force who had come out to train. Such people were usually very rich. In fact, when he invited Lu Ming and the others to form a team, he had the idea of dealing with Lu Ming and the others halfway, but he didn't expect to be rejected. However, they were very lucky to meet Lu Ming and the others here. He didn't hesitate to take action. Are you sure you want to rob us? Ling Yuwei asked again. Nonsense, hurry up and hand it over. I might spare your lives. The bald old man shouted. I'm afraid that even if we hand over all the treasures, you won't let us go. Lu Ming interrupted. Hee hee. As if Lu Ming had guessed what was on his mind, the bald old man and said, since you have guessed it, then I'll tell you. You guys are unlucky to meet us. Cooperate obediently, and I'll leave your corpses intact. Indeed, he had no intention of letting Lu Ming off. Since Lu Ming and the rest were disciples from powerful forces, they naturally had to silence them. After robbing them, if they did not silence them, would they wait for revenge? How was that possible? You really don't know what's good for you. At this moment, Lu Ming, Ling Yuwei, and Xiao Wuji's eyes flashed with killing intent. They had long seen that there were only 2 people in the bald old man's group who were at the first divine emperor realm. The rest were below the divine emperor realm. In the eyes of Lu Ming and the others, such combat strength was nothing. With such strength, they dared to deal with them. If they weren't courting death, then what was? Roar, roar, roar. Just as Lu Ming and the others were about to make a move, there was a violent roar in the surroundings. Rumble. At the same time, there was a rumbling sound on the ground. It was as if thousands of soldiers and horses were rushing towards them. The speed was very fast. The sound seemed to be quite far away, but soon, it was very close. Between heaven and earth, there was a mass of darkness. In the air and on the ground, there were countless giant beasts flying and rampaging. Spirit beasts, all of them were spirit beasts. There were spirit beasts in all directions, and some of them were constantly drilling out from the ground. Beast tide, it's a beast tide. Someone in the bald old man's group was panic-stricken and shouted loudly. The others were the same. Their complexions were deathly pale, and they were incomparably frightened. Their faces were filled with fear. They had heard of the spirit beast's beast tide. It was the spirit beasts of the evil spirit world who had joined forces to retaliate against invaders like them. However, beast tides were extremely rare. Normally, they wouldn't encounter one. They hadn't thought that they would encounter one now. Look at the number of spirit beasts, it should be a small-scale beast tide. Let's join forces and attack in one direction, we might be able to survive, shouted the bald old man. At this moment, they didn't care about Lu Ming and the others. Compared to treasures, their lives were more important. More than 10 of them teamed up and charged towards the back because there seemed to be fewer soul beasts behind them. Die! The bald old man roared as he struck out with his palm. A terrifying palm print that could topple mountains and overturn seas blasted towards the group of soul beasts. Another cultivator of the first divine emperor realm also attacked with his full strength. His sword chi was like a rainbow as it slashed forward. More than a dozen cultivators below the divine emperor realm also attacked with their full strength. Their attacks were so powerful that they were like rainbows. Bang bang, many soul beasts exploded and were killed on the spot. The bald old man and the others were overjoyed. If this continued, they would be able to escape. Keep going, the bald old man roared, wanting to motivate everyone to charge out in one go. But before he could finish his sentence, he was stuck. Because a few terrifying roars had spread in the air. A few gigantic beasts had appeared and were moving towards the bald old man and the others. Godly emperors, they were all godly emperors. There were 5 of them. The 5 godly emperors were roaring and their bodies were glowing. 5 dazzling rays of light moved towards the bald old man and the others. Stop them, shouted the bald old man. He used his full strength to release a dazzling light hand. The other cultivator of the first godly emperor realm also used his full strength to release a sword attack. The others also used their full strength to help the 2 godly emperors block the attack. Boom! The 2 sides' attacks collided and the earth rumbled. The bald old man and the others' attacks were destroyed. Some of the weaker cultivators gave horrible shrieks and exploded. Their souls had been destroyed. Even though the stronger cultivators didn't die, they were severely injured and coughed up blood. Their chi was extremely weak. The bald old man and the other cultivator of the first godly emperor realm were also shaken. Blood was flowing out of their mouths. They couldn't compete with the 5 godly emperor realm soul beasts. But what made them even more desperate was that there were terrifying roars coming from all directions. Then, a terrifying chi rose up in the air. All of them were godly emperors. There were godly emperor realm soul beasts everywhere. There was more than 1 soul beast in each direction. There were 4 or 5 soul beasts in each direction. They were surrounded. The bald old man and the others were desperate. They were going to die. Translator, Transan editor, Transan. Chapter 38-47. The bald old man and the others were in despair. They were going to die in the face of so many strong spirit beasts. They had no chance of surviving. Roar! Roar! The spirit beasts roared. Some spirit beasts charged towards Lu Ming and the others. Terrifying attacks moved towards Lu Ming and the others. Clang! A sword gleam condensed in Lu Ming's hand, emitting a sword cry. With a sweep, a crescent moon sword gleam swept in all directions, breaking all the attacks of the soul beasts. Die! Shouted Xiao Wuji coldly. He waved his hand and black rays of light shot out. In a flash, dozens of spirit beasts died at Xiao Wuji's hands. After killing so many spirit beasts, he had successfully attracted the attention of the godly emperor spirit beasts. Caw! A gigantic blue bird with 2 heads flew towards Lu Ming and the others. It opened its mouth and released a beam of blue light towards Lu Ming and the others. A godly emperor spirit beast's attack was not to be underestimated. It was much stronger than a godly emperor. However, ordinary cultivators of the first godly emperor layer didn't pose a threat to Lu Ming and the others. Ling Yuwei condensed a bow in her palm, drew her bow, and shot out an arrow. An arrow rushed up, directly breaking through the 2-headed bird's attack. The arrow did not stop, piercing through the 2-headed bird's head. With a bang, the 2-headed bird's head exploded, and it died on the spot. The bald old man and the others were stupefied. Their eyes were wide open. A godly emperor spirit beast had been killed by an arrow. What kind of fighting strength was that? Such fighting strength was simply too terrifying. The bald old man determined that the fighting strength of the strange 2-headed bird from earlier was absolutely not inferior to his own. If that arrow had been aimed at him, then he would have. Thinking of this, the bald old man shuddered and felt a chill run down his spine. Roar! Roar! Seeing that a divine emperor realm spirit beast had been killed, the rest of the spirit beasts were enraged and roared. At least a dozen divine emperor realm wild beasts rushed towards Lu Ming's group, leaving the bald old man and the others to the side. Let's fight, let's fight. It's best if both sides are injured so that we can take the opportunity to rush out. The bald old man and the others viciously thought. More than 10 divine emperor realm spirit beasts attacked at the same time. Their power was terrifying. A huge explosion occurred in the void. Terrifying attacks came from all directions, attacking Lu Ming, Ling Yuwei and Xiao Wuji. You're courting death. The eyes of Lu Ming and the other 2 were filled with coldness as they attacked at the same time. Lu Ming activated the battle esoteric art and increased his combat power by 5 times. He dashed toward the few divine emperor realm soul beasts and punched continuously with both fists. The terrifying fist force tore through the void and blasted toward the few soul beasts. The spirit beasts' attacks were torn apart by Lu Ming's fist energy. The fist energy didn't stop and bombarded the spirit beasts. The spirit beasts cried out in pain as their bodies were penetrated by the fist energy. They were torn apart and died on the spot. Lu Ming grabbed a few soul jades in his hand. On the other side, Ling Yuwei shot a few arrows and killed a few divine emperor realm spirit beasts. As for Xiao Wuji, he easily killed a few divine emperor realm spirit beasts. More than a dozen God King soul beasts were killed in an instant. The bald old man and the others' eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Their mouths were opened so wide that they could swallow a few goose eggs. Shock, disbelief, disbelief, it was written all over their faces. Those were divine emperor realm spirit beasts. How could they be killed so easily? It was as easy as slaughtering a chicken. They thought that they were dreaming. Monsters. These 3 people were all peerless monsters. They were all monsters. Then, they felt a chill in their hearts, and chills ran down their spines. Previously, they actually wanted to rob these 3 monsters and kill them. They were courting death. They were completely courting death. The surrounding spirit beasts were terrified when they saw more than 10 divine emperor realm spirit beasts being killed. There was an uproar. Roar, roar. After that, the remaining soul beasts roared. Then, the remaining soul beasts all turned around and ran away. They were actually running away. These spirit beasts were also very intelligent. They knew that they were no match for Lu Ming and the others, so they naturally retreated. In an instant, all the spirit beasts ran away. Go, go quickly. Seeing that the desolate beasts had retreated, the bald old man and the others didn't dare to stay any longer. They immediately wanted to sneak away. Where are you going? Ling Yuwei's face was gloomy as her cold voice sounded. The bald old man and the others immediately shivered and stopped. They didn't dare to move. What a joke. They had clearly seen Lu Ming and the others' methods. Even if they escaped, they wouldn't be able to escape. There was only death. Their faces were extremely ugly. They looked at Lu Ming and the other two with fear. Sirs, we were blind just now. Please forgive us, sirs. The bald old man squeezed out a smile that was uglier than crying. He bowed to Lu Ming and the other two. You wanted to kill us just now, and now you want us to spare you? Aren't you too naive? Ling Yuwei said coldly. She was about to attack and kill these people. Wait a minute. Lu Ming called out. Ling Yuwei stopped and looked at Lu Ming with some doubt. Could it be that Lu Ming's heart softened and he wanted to let these people go? This person can be killed, but the others can stay. They can help us scout the way, Lu Ming explained. Ling Yuwei and Xiao Wuji's eyes lit up. That's right, if they had to search by themselves, how long would it take? If they found more people to search together, it would be much faster. As for the bald old man, he was the main culprit. Naturally, he deserved to die and couldn't be let go. Hearing Lu Ming's words, the others were overjoyed and quickly distanced themselves from the bald old man. The bald old man's face was extremely ugly. At this moment, his heart was filled with regret. If he had known that Lu Ming and the other two were so monstrous, he definitely wouldn't have provoked Lu Ming and the other two. However, there was no medicine for regret. Regret was already useless. However, he was absolutely unwilling to die obediently. A trace of viciousness flashed across the bald old man's eyes. He suddenly rushed in a direction. It was the direction of his group. In the blink of an eye, he had rushed into the group of people. He grabbed a few people with both hands and threw them towards Lu Ming and the other two. As for himself, he pushed his speed to the limit and rushed in a direction. You're courting death, Lu Ming said coldly. Using the Great God Wind technique, he caught up to the bald old man in a flash. With another flash, he had already appeared in front of the bald old man. Ah! The bald old man cried out in fright. Then, he attacked with all his might. A divine light palm print blasted towards Lu Ming. Boom! Lu Ming threw a punch. The bald elder's divine light giant handprint, which he had used all his strength to attack, collapsed immediately. The fist force did not stop and bombarded the elder's body. The bald elder screamed miserably and his body was torn into pieces. Even his soul exploded. Is this the difference? Just an 8th level divine lord. What kind of monster is this? This was the bald old man's last thought. Book Guest House Reading Website. Chapter 3848. After Lu Ming killed the bald old man in one move, the remaining people didn't dare to move. Their faces were pale with fright. The moment they made a move, the gap between them was even more obvious. Lu Ming and the other two were too monstrous. They looked at Lu Ming and the other two in horror, waiting helplessly for their fate to befall them. They didn't know how Lu Ming and the other two would deal with them. Now, there's something I need you to do. Lu Ming glanced at the crowd and said in an unquestionable tone. Just give us the order. We will never refuse. Yes, just give us the order. We will definitely do it properly. Those people nodded and bowed, promising that they couldn't wait to dig out their hearts for Lu Ming to see. At the moment of life and death, how could they refuse? No matter what conditions Lu Ming set, they had to grit their teeth and agree. I want you to help me find some special places in the evil spirit realm. For example, some special buildings, some special places, Lu Ming instructed. Okay, we promise to complete the task. Those people didn't expect Lu Ming to ask them to do something so simple. They quickly nodded, afraid that they would be a step slower and cause Lu Ming to be unhappy. Of course, before you go, there's one more step, following which, Lu Ming waved his fingers and many runes were formed. They then flew toward these people. These people were shocked and wanted to dodge, but they didn't dare. They could only watch as the runes flew into their bodies and disappeared. This is a soul-severing restriction. If you dare to escape, with a thought, your souls will be destroyed and you will die without a burial place. Alright, you can go. If there's any news, Send me a message. Lu Ming waved his hand casually. Those people sighed in their hearts and could only help Lu Ming and the others. Originally, some of them really had that thought. After leaving Lu Ming and the others, they would run away. But now, they didn't dare to. Everyone cupped their fists and turned into rays of light, leaving this place. Is that rune really a soul-severing restriction? Why do I look so simple? Ling Yuwei asked curiously. She had a very deep understanding of the Tao of restriction runes, so she naturally saw something. It's fake. What soul-severing restriction? It's just to scare them. Lu Ming smiled. Brother Mu's wisdom is admirable. Xiu Wuji Dao. It's just a small trick. However, we can still use this trick to find more people to help us. Lu Ming said. That's right. At least it's faster than the three of us searching. Ling Yuwei and Xiu Wuji naturally agreed. After that, they began to move. As long as they encountered people who came in to hunt soul beasts, they would immediately take them down. They pretended to set up restrictions so that these people could help them find a special building or location. Not long after, they found more than 200 people to help them search. With more than 200 people scattered in all directions, their efficiency was naturally much faster than the three of them. Not long after, they received news that they had made a discovery. They rushed over according to the news and found a dilapidated palace. They went in and searched, but found nothing. After that, more news came, and they all made some discoveries. However, when Lu Ming and the others went to investigate, they found nothing. This made the three of them wonder if this middle world was a treasure land left behind by the Life Spirit Heavenly Court. There's news again. It's in the north. Lu Ming received another piece of news. Let's go take a look. The three of them were naturally unwilling to give up so easily and flew towards the north. The three of them were extremely fast. Their bodies were engraved with teleportation arrays, and they flew through the air. In a few flashes, they had crossed a distance of hundreds of millions of miles. A majestic mountain appeared in front of them. At the foot of the mountain, there was an ancient bluestone road. At the end of the ancient road was a huge stone door that led to the belly of the mountain. As soon as they arrived, Lu Ming and the others immediately sensed something. To be precise, it was their life spirit origin stone fragments that had sensed something. They were trembling slightly and radiating light. It's here, it's here. This place must be related to the Life Spirit Heavenly Court. The stone spirit of the Life Spirit origin stone fragments cried out excitedly. Ling Yuwei and Xiu Wuji's eyes also lit up. Obviously, they had all sensed it at the same time. That's right, it's here. This world is indeed a treasure land left behind by the Life Spirit Heavenly Court. There must be treasures in this mountain, and even clues to the 9 Life Spirit halls. Xiu Wuji's eyes lit up. Let's go in. Ling Yuwei's eyes also flickered. The three of them flew forward and arrived in front of the ancient bluestone road, intending to pass through it. Buzz. Suddenly, densely packed runes appeared on the ground. A large array emerged and shrouded Lu Ming and the other two. Ha ha ha, I've been waiting here for 30 million years. I've finally arrived. A carefree laugh rang out, and then a figure appeared in the air. It was a middle-aged man who looked to be in his 40s. He was tall and sturdy, and his eyes shone brightly. A powerful aura spread out from this person's body. It was as deep as the sea, unfathomable. Lu Ming, Ling Yuwei, and Xiu Wuji's expressions changed drastically. There was actually someone here. Peng Peng, the middle-aged man, walked in the air, and every step he took caused the void to tremble. The great array below also responded to the middle-aged man's steps, and the light became even brighter. Swoosh! Ling Yuwei directly drew her bow and shot out an arrow, wanting to break through the great array. However, the great array lit up, and layers of divine light enveloped the arrow. The arrow disappeared without a trace, like mud sinking into the sea. Don't waste your time. I have to admit that your attack power is very strong, but in my great array, you won't be able to come out, the middle-aged man sneered. This great array was set up? Ling Yuwei asked. I already said that it's my great array, the middle-aged man said. Who is it? Lu Ming asked. There's no harm in telling you. I was the one who created the Linghung sect. The middle-aged man smiled. It's the sect master of the Linghung sect. Ling Yue exclaimed. She didn't expect the other party to be the sect master of the Linghung sect. Where did the fragments of the life spirit origin stone on me come from? Lu Ming continued to ask. That's right, this middle-aged man also had fragments of the life spirit origin stone on him. Lu Ming and the other two had sensed this when the middle-aged man appeared. This was also what made them even more shocked. Here, a middle-aged man suddenly ran out and set up a great array to trap them. Moreover, he actually had fragments of the life spirit origin stone on him. This seemed to be very complicated. The fragments of the life spirit origin stone on me were naturally obtained by me, the middle-aged man, who was also the sect master of the Linghung sect, said with a faint smile. Chapter 3849. You got it yourself. As far as I know, the life spirit origin stone fragment will only choose young geniuses. Ling Yue said. The life spirit origin stone fragment would only choose young geniuses, and those monstrous geniuses at that. Whether it was Lu Ming, Ling Yue, Xiao Wuji, or the previous Xue Ming and Murong Qiu Shui, they were all top geniuses of the universe. Why would the life spirit origin stone fragment choose such an old person? Everyone has a time when they are young. The sect master of the Linghung sect said indifferently. Lu Ming, Ling Yue, and Xiao Wuji were shocked. These words reminded them that they had overlooked a problem. Yes, the life spirit origin stone fragment would choose a young monster, but who made the rule that it was a monster of this era? A monster of the previous era was also fine. Perhaps, some of the life spirit origin stone fragments had already appeared and were chosen by the monstrous geniuses from a long time ago. And those monstrous geniuses were no longer young. It was normal for them to become middle-aged and old. For example, the sect master of the Linghung sect in front of them might have been a monstrous genius when he was young, which was why he obtained the life spirit origin stone fragment. The hearts of Lu Ming and the other two sank. If it was that kind of monstrous genius, then what realm would his cultivation have reached after so many years? It wasn't something they could fight against, right? Ha ha ha, you believe me just because I said that. Seeing your expressions, it's really laughable. The sect master of the Linghung sect laughed loudly. After a while, he said, You're right. The life spirit origin stone fragment will only choose monstrous geniuses, but I'm not. The life spirit origin stone fragment on me was snatched from a young genius back then. I spent a lot of effort and finally controlled that life spirit origin stone fragment and found out the secret of this place being the treasure land of the life spirit heavenly court. Therefore, 30 million years ago, I established the Linghung sect here and controlled this world. Unfortunately, this mountain is a treasure land left behind by the life soul heavenly court. I can't enter with just a piece of the life soul origin stone fragment. Therefore, I set up a formation here and waited here for the owner of the life soul fragment to come. I've been waiting for 30 million years. Finally, there are 3 of them. Ha ha ha, I can finally enter the treasure land of the life spirit heavenly court. The treasures in the treasure land of the life spirit heavenly court are mine. There are even 9 life spirit palaces. The sect master of the Linghung sect laughed loudly. The more he laughed, the more excited he became. The more he laughed, the more his eyes shone. 3 of them came at once, which was really out of his expectations. Lu Ming, Ling Yue, and Xiao Wuji's faces were incomparably gloomy. The doubts in their hearts were finally answered. They finally knew why a force would occupy a remote place like the Sand Layer Starfield. It was deliberately created by the sect master of the Linghung sect. His goal was to control the evil spirit world in his hands. In the past, everyone thought that the Linghung sect was doing it for the soul jade of the evil spirit world. Now, Lu Ming and the others understood that the enemy was doing it for the treasure land left behind by the life spirit heavenly court. The other party had established the Linghung sect here and occupied the evil spirit world. The sect master of the Linghung sect had long found this mountain, but unfortunately, he couldn't enter. That was why he had set up a formation here and waited here. As for recruiting people to hunt soul beasts in the evil spirit world every once in a while, it seemed that it was all a trap. The goal was to attract the controller of the Life Soul Origin Stone Fragment. With the control of the Life Soul Origin Stone Fragment, if one wanted to find the treasure land of the Life Spirit Heavenly Court, they would definitely sneak into the evil spirit world and then search for the treasure land of the Life Spirit Heavenly Court, just like Lu Ming and the others. The sect master of the Lingheng sect had planned everything and waited here for the rabbit. As for Lu Ming and the others, they had unknowingly been tricked. This kind of guy who had lived for a long time had an extraordinary mind and was very terrifying. The reason why I told you is so that you can die with understanding. Now, hand over the Life Soul Origin Stone Fragment on your body and I can give you a quick death, the sect master of the Lingheng sect said loudly. He was very confident. He had the right to be confident. He could already tell that Lu Ming and the other two were at the quasi-emperor realm at the highest. As for him, he was already at the 6th level of the divine emperor realm. No matter how monstrous Lu Ming and the other two were, they were no match for him. Looks like there's going to be a tough battle today, Xiao Wuji whispered. Let's attack together and break this formation first. Ling Yue said. The three of them nodded and transmitted their voices to each other, reaching a consensus. Swoosh. The three of them attacked at the same time, attacking towards the left. In an instant, Lu Ming activated the battle character art, increasing his battle strength by 5 times. At the same time, he used the Great Divine Wind technique. Boom. Boom. Lu Ming used his full strength and threw a punch. A terrifying fist chi moved forwards, bringing with it a terrifying hurricane. The sky kept exploding. Everything was about to collapse, but the deployment spell was dazzling and dazzling. Godly lights moved towards Lu Ming's punch. Boom boom boom. The sound of an explosion reverberated through the sky. Lu Ming's fist force was forcefully neutralized. At the same time, Ling Yue and Xiao Wuji also attacked, using their full strength. Even a cultivator of the second godly emperor realm would be killed, but it was useless. Their attacks were blocked by the deployment spell. Powerful, truly powerful. I have to say that the three of you are able to possess such combat strength at such a cultivation level. It really frightens me. However, the three of you are still too weak. You won't be able to walk out of my great formation. Today, your fate has already been decided, smiled the patriarch of the Lingheng sect coldly. His body was glowing and his godly strength was surging. He controlled the deployment spell. Attack! Shouted Ling Yue. Behind her, a gigantic tree appeared. Green lights penetrated into her body. She was holding a gigantic bow. Her strength condensed and turned into a green arrow. Swoosh! The green arrow was 10 meters long. It pierced through the sky and left a terrifying mark. Great godly wind technique, great destruction technique. Lu Ming used his full strength and threw a punch. That punch contained the strength of the Great Godly Wind technique and the Great Destruction technique. 2 types of ancient secret techniques converged, forming a destructive power that wrapped around the emerald green arrow and shot forward. Azura's light. Xiao Wuji transformed into his 3-headed, 6-armed form. A vertical eye opened between the eyebrows of each of his 3 heads. Each vertical eye emitted a jet black light. The 3 rays of light merged into one and wrapped around the emerald green arrow. The attacks of the 3 gathered together and collided with the godly light formed by the formation. Boom boom boom. Rumbling sounds spread in all directions. The arrow was like a hot knife cutting through butter. It kept breaking the deployment spell's strength. The patriarch of the Lingheng sect's expression suddenly changed. Lu Ming and the other two's attacks were beyond his expectations. How terrifying. They haven't even broken through to the godly emperor realm, but they're already so terrifying. We can't let them go. Crush them, shouted the patriarch of the Lingheng sect furiously. He pressed his hands down. Chapter 3850. The patriarch of the Lingheng sect pressed his hands down, and a vast amount of godly strength poured into the deployment spell. The deployment spell's godly light became even more vast and boundless. It kept attacking Lu Ming and the other 2. Lu Ming and the other two's attacks kept shaking. Their energy was being consumed again and again. Again, shouted Ling Yuwei. She spat out a mouthful of blood on the bow in her hand. The bow released a terrifying wave of energy, and a blood-red, emerald arrow condensed in the air. Ball. Lu Ming's heart shook, and he called Ball to help. Ball moved rapidly and turned into an armor, covering Lu Ming's body. At the same time, a silver spear appeared in Lu Ming's hand. Bzzz. The spear shook, and a dazzling silver light shot out. Behind Xiao Wuji, a 99-headed Azura king with 999 arms appeared. Azura lights emerged from the 99 heads' foreheads. This time, the attacks were even more terrifying. Especially Ball's silver spear, it was even more terrifying. When Ball attacked with his full strength, he could kill cultivators of the fourth godly emperor layer. This time, the three people's attacks were unstoppable. They kept breaking the deployment spell's godly light, and the deployment spell's godly light kept exploding. In the end, a tunnel appeared. "Let's go!" Lu Ming shouted loudly. His body transformed into a beam of light and he dashed through the passageway, leaving the range of the array. Ling Yuwei and Xiao Wuji's speed was also very fast. They also turned into streaks of light. With a flash, they also left the range of the formation and appeared outside the formation. The two of them glanced at Lu Ming. They were astonished. They hadn't thought that Lu Ming would have such a trump card. Boom. At that moment, a terrifying pressure pressed down on Lu Ming and the other two. Lu Ming and the other two moved back to block the pressure. It was the patriarch of the Ling Hung sect. He appeared in the sky above Lu Ming and the other two, releasing a monstrous pressure. What a powerful metallic creature! The sect leader of the Ling Hung sect stared at Cho Cho on Lu Ming's body. A hint of shock and greed flashed across his eyes. "Mph, so what if you can break the formation? Do you think you can escape from me?" The sect master of the Ling Hung sect sneered. He was still very confident. With his strength, he could control the entire situation. "All of you, kneel." The sect master of the Ling Hung sect struck out with his palm. A gigantic palm print pressed down on Lu Ming and the other two like a majestic mountain. Rumble. The palm pressed down, shattering the void. The scene was shocking. Lu Ming and the other two tried their best to resist, but they were unable to do so. As the palm struck down, the three of them retreated. Lu Ming was a little better off. With Cho Cho's armor protecting him, he only felt his blood and qi churning as a trace of blood seeped out from the corner of his mouth. However, Ling Yuwei and Xiao Wuji had also suffered heavy injuries and vomited large mouthfuls of blood. After all, the difference between them and the sect master of the Spirit Hung sect was too great. The other party had only casually struck them with a palm and they had suffered heavy injuries. If he used his full strength, he would definitely be able to turn them into ashes. In front of absolute strength, no matter how talented you are, you won't be able to withstand a single blow. Obediently hand over your life soul origin stone fragments. Also, hand over the physique secret techniques that you cultivate and the 3,000 ancient secret techniques. The sect master of the Ling Hung sect said, the greed in his eyes becoming even stronger. The reason why he didn't kill Lu Ming and the other two immediately was because he had taken a fancy to the various secret techniques and treasures that the three of them possessed. Especially Lu Ming, who the sect master of the Ling Hung sect paid the most attention to. He was merely an 8th-level divine lord, but his combat strength was heaven-defying. He was completely on the same level as Ling Yuwei and Xiao Wuji. Moreover, he had mastered 2 of the 3,000 ancient secret techniques. He had to obtain them. Although the 3,000 ancient secret techniques were said to be very difficult to cultivate, how would he know if he hadn't cultivated them before? Moreover, even if he couldn't cultivate them himself, some people would be interested and sell them for a sky-high price. This was the reason why he didn't use his full strength. Lu Ming's face darkened as he quickly thought of a countermeasure. The sect master of the Ling Hung sect was too strong. Even with Cho Cho's help, he was definitely not the other party's match. If the other party attacked, he and Cho Cho would both die. Right now, he only had 2 trump cards. One was the Gale Pearl. The Gale Pearl contained a terrifying gale. With his current comprehension of the great divine wind technique, he could definitely draw out a portion of the gale. However, he wasn't sure how strong it was and whether he could deal with the sect master of the Lingheng sect. The other was to take the risk to open the purple copper coffin. He originally didn't want to expose too much in front of Ling Yue and Xiao Wuji. After all, he didn't trust Ling Yue and Xiao Wuji very much. He needed to keep a trump card. But now that he was facing a life-and-death crisis, he couldn't care less about this. He had to deal with the sect master of the Lingheng sect first. "Do you really think that we're done for?" Just as Lu Ming was hesitating, a cold voice sounded. It came from Ling Yue. At this moment, the huge warbow in Ling Yue's hand disappeared. Replacing it was a small warbow. This warbow wasn't big. It was only a meter long and looked very old. The most eye-catching thing was that there was a pool of blood on it. This bloodstain looked fresh, as if it had just been sprinkled with fresh blood. However, there was a terrifying aura emanating from it. Lu Ming and Xiao Wuji both had grave expressions on their faces. The blood on this warbow was definitely left on it by a terrifying existence. "I'll let you have a taste of the power of the Elven King's bow." Ling Yue opened her mouth and then suddenly pulled the bowstring. Wang! In an instant, it was as if the entire world was shaking. Then, it was as if all the energy in the world was gathering towards the warbow. A bloody arrow condensed and aimed at the sect master of the Lingheng sect. This is, the sect master of the Lingheng sect's pupils suddenly constricted. He felt all the hair on his body stand on end. He felt a great terror enveloping him. "Retreat, retreat." The sect master of the Lingheng sect retreated without hesitation. Swoosh! Ling Yue let go of her hand, and the bloody arrow flew out. Fast, it was really too fast. It was so fast that the sect master of the Lingheng sect didn't have time to dodge. In an instant, the arrow appeared in front of the sect master of the Lingheng sect. The sect master of the Lingheng sect roared. His cultivation of the 6th level of the Divine Emperor realm completely erupted. Terrifying divine power erupted from the sect master of the Lingheng sect like an avalanche. It was as if a sun had exploded. The entire medium-class world shook violently. "Eternal Heaven Finger." The sect master of the Lingheng sect pointed out a finger. A grey finger was incomparably huge. It pointed forward and collided with the arrow shot by Ling Yue. An explosion that seemed to shake the heavens and earth rang out. Terrifying energy swept out in all directions. Bang! In the end, the finger that the sect master of the Lingheng sect attacked with was actually pierced through by the arrow. The terrifying arrow didn't stop and continued to shoot forward. In the next moment, blood splattered in all directions. The sect master of the Lingheng sect's body was pierced through by the arrow. Chapter 3851. The sect master of the Lingheng sect was directly pierced by the arrow. With a blood-curdling scream, his body explosively retreated. A huge bloody hole appeared in his chest. The destructive power of the arrow was constantly destroying his body, obliterating his life force. The sect master of the Lingheng sect's aura instantly became very dispirited. "You're courting death. I want you to die without a burial ground." The sect master of the Lingheng sect roared in anger, but he didn't dare to stay. His figure explosively retreated, leaving this place at an astonishing speed. Puff! At this moment, Ling Yue's delicate body trembled and she spat out a mouthful of blood. Her face was snow white. "Are you all right?" Lu Ming looked at Ling Yue and asked. "I'm fine. It's just that the arrow just now consumed too much energy. I'll be able to recover very soon." Ling Yue nodded and glanced at Xiao Wuji meaningfully. She put away the Elven King's bow that was stained with blood, took out a divine pill that was like a small tree, and swallowed it. Immediately, a powerful fluctuation came from her body, and her aura quickly recovered. At the side, Xiao Wuji's gaze swept across Lu Ming's body. There was an inexplicable smile on his face the entire time, and he didn't say anything. A moment later, Ling Yue's aura calmed down. Clearly, she had recovered a lot. "Let's hurry up and set off." I'm afraid the sect master of the Lingheng sect won't let this go so easily, Xiao Wuji said. Let's go. Lu Ming, Ling Yue, and Xiao Wuji followed the ancient bluestone road and headed towards the stone door at the bottom of the mountain. However, when they stepped onto the ancient bluestone road, figures suddenly appeared on both sides of the road. These figures were not real. Their bodies were illusory, like phantoms. Their eyes were filled with ghostly flames as they stared at Lu Ming and the other two. On both sides of the ancient bluestone road, there were a total of 108 phantoms. Kill! 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 These phantoms shouted in unison. Their killing intent soared into the sky as they charged towards Lu Ming and the other two. Their palms condensed all sorts of weapons. They looked illusory, but when they waved them, their might was terrifying, directly shattering space. At the same time, at least 20 attacks rushed towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming used his great divine wind technique, and his figure rapidly flashed, dodging 15 attacks. But the remaining attacks were beyond the scope of Lu Ming's ability, and he could only take them head-on. Whoosh! 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 Lu Ming stabbed out 8 times in a row. 8 moonlight spear lights burst out, and the remaining 8 attacks were blocked. After blocking this wave of attacks, Lu Ming's figure flashed, and the moonlight spear continued to thrust out. Those illusory figures were continuously pierced, and their bodies exploded. However, as soon as these phantoms exploded, they gathered together again, but they were much dimmer than before. Its energy is constantly weakening. It's not hard to deal with. Lu Ming's heart stirred, and he continued to attack. He integrated the great fragmentation art into the moonlight spear. Bang! Bang! All of a sudden, more than 10 phantoms were shattered. This time, the power of the great fragmentation art was activated, and these phantoms were shattered into countless pieces. A portion of them barely managed to condense, but some of them were unable to condense and completely disappeared. Lu Ming's spirit was greatly shaken, and his attacks became even more violent. There were constantly phantoms that were completely destroyed. In a moment, more than 30 phantoms were destroyed by Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming had such speed because of Qiu Qiu. He cooperated with Qiu Qiu to have such a record. Xiao Wuji and Ling Yue, on the other hand, didn't have such a record. The speed at which they destroyed the phantoms was much slower. Lu Ming destroyed 30 phantoms, and the two of them combined only destroyed 20. There were still more than 50 phantoms left, and Lu Ming and the others destroyed them much faster. Lu Ming and the other two attacked with all their might. Those phantoms were destroyed one by one, and very soon, there were only a dozen left. At this moment, Wang, 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 the void in all directions began to tremble violently, like ripples in water. Then, one figure after another suddenly appeared. The densely packed figures enveloped the sky in all directions. Their powerful auras shook the world. One of them was the sect master of the Lingheng sect who had been injured and fled in a sorry state. Needless to say, the people he had brought were all experts of the Lingheng sect. Among them, there were quite a few divine Emperor realm existences. Kill those 3 little bastards for me, the sect master of the Lingheng sect roared as he stared at Lu Ming and the other two. Flames burst out from his eyes, as if he wanted to burn the 3 of them to ashes. Charge in! Lu Ming shouted as his silver spear swept across the army. In an instant, 6 phantoms were destroyed. Ling Yue and Xiao Wuji also attacked with all their might. They destroyed a few phantoms and headed towards the stone door at the bottom of the mountain. When they arrived here, the life spirit origin stone fragments in their bodies reacted even more violently. They had a feeling that with the life spirit origin stone fragments, they could open this stone door. Only by entering this stone door would they have a chance. Otherwise, with so many experts of the Lingheng sect, they would be in danger. Even if they had hidden their trump cards. They were very fast and approached the stone door in the blink of an eye. Kill! The experts of the Lingheng sect roared as their killing intent soared into the sky. Especially a few divine Emperor realm existences. Their speed was extremely fast as they charged towards Lu Ming and the others like a few streaks of light. However, they didn't charge forward along the ancient bluestone road. They charged towards Lu Ming and the others from the side. However, when they approached the mountain, their bodies suddenly froze. Their faces were filled with fear. Then, with a bang, their bodies turned into ashes. Their bodies and souls were destroyed and disappeared into thin air. When the others saw this scene, they were almost scared out of their wits. Some people who were charging forward crazily erupted with divine power and forcefully stopped their bodies. When Lu Ming and the other two saw this scene, they were also secretly shocked. Fortunately, they had walked along the ancient bluestone road from the beginning. It wasn't without reason that they had left this road here. Other than the ancient bluestone road, the surroundings of this mountain were filled with terrifying killing intent. Charge in from that ancient bluestone road and kill them, the sect master of the Linghung sect roared. The people of the Linghung sect immediately changed their direction and charged towards Lu Ming and the others along the ancient bluestone road. They were completely fine and there were no illusions to stop them. However, at this moment, Lu Ming and the other two had already arrived under the stone door. As soon as they arrived under the stone door, the fragments of the life spirit origin stone in their bodies trembled even more violently. They directly flew out of their bodies and shot out a beam of light towards the stone door. Lu Ming glanced at it. He discovered that Ling Yue's life spirit origin stone fragment was about the same size as his. It should have been formed by fusing with Xueming's piece. What was shocking was that Xiao Wuji's life spirit origin stone fragment was slightly larger than Lu Ming's or Ling Yue's. It was likely that he had fused with several life spirit origin stone fragments to have such a volume. The three beams of light landed on the stone door. The stone door immediately shook and a resplendent light appeared. Then, with a cracking sound, it separated to the sides. Chapter 38:52. The stone door was opened. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, after the stone door was opened, waves of cold wind immediately blew out from inside. Moreover, waves of strange roars came from inside the stone door. It was as if countless vengeful spirits were roaring. It made people feel a chill down their spines when they heard it. In the next moment, Lu Ming, Ling Yue, and Xiao Wuji's expressions changed drastically. The reason for that was because they saw countless figures rushing out from the depths of the stone gate. These figures looked the same as the phantoms they had encountered before, but they were more solid and their auras were even more terrifying. They all let out strange cries and rushed over at an extremely fast speed. "We're in trouble." Lu Ming and the other two's faces were somewhat gloomy. There were people from the Linghung sect behind them, and there were so many strange creatures in front of them. They were in trouble. "We can only risk it." The three of them were all peerless monsters, so they naturally wouldn't give up so easily. Even if they were in a desperate situation, they had to risk it. The three of them were about to fight with all their might, but something unexpected happened. Their life spirit origin stone fragments appeared above their heads, scattering a layer of light that enveloped them. Those strange creatures rushed past them as if they didn't see them. They ignored their existence and directly rushed towards the experts of the Linghung sect. These strange creatures let out terrifying roars and continued to attack. Immediately, some of the experts of the Linghung sect were torn apart. "Block it!" The experts of the Linghung sect roared. A powerful divine emperor made a move to block these strange creatures. However, there were also many powerful divine emperor realm existences among these strange creatures. They charged forward without fear of death. The people of the Linghung sect were completely at a disadvantage and were surrounded by the strange creatures. What was even more frightening was that there were still countless strange creatures rushing out from the stone door. "Run!" Someone from the Linghung sect roared in fear. He turned around and left, but these strange creatures chased after him from behind as if they wouldn't stop until they died. However, the sect master of the Linghung sect wasn't attacked. There was also a fragment of a life spirit origin stone floating on his body, scattering a ray of light. Those strange creatures didn't attack him. "Kill, kill!" The sect master of the Linghung sect attacked with all his might, wanting to destroy those strange creatures. However, although he was powerful and had destroyed some of the strange creatures, there were too many of them. It was impossible to kill them all. "Go!" At this moment, Lu Ming and the other two rushed towards the stone door. It seemed that the natal spirit stone fragment was their protective talisman here. The three of them rushed through the stone door and found that the space inside was very spacious. It was a huge underground secret room. There were many passageways around the secret chamber, each of which had the same strange creature rushing out. "Stop right there." Seeing Lu Ming and the other two rush into the stone door, the sect master of the Spirit Hung sect roared and rushed into the stone door alone. His eyes were filled with cold killing intent as he looked at Lu Ming and the other two. Previously, he had been pierced through by Ling Yue's arrow and was severely injured. However, he had already stabilized himself. Although he was not at his peak, he still retained a very strong battle prowess. "Little girl, that arrow of yours from before should have cost you a lot, right? I don't believe that you can shoot a second arrow." The sect master of the Spirit Hung sect stared at Ling Yue with a ferocious expression. He was very scheming and could easily figure out what was going on. Ling Yue's previous arrow had borrowed the power of the bloody battle bow. However, Ling Yue's cultivation was only very high, she was only a quasi-emperor. To be able to shoot that arrow, she had definitely paid a huge price. It was almost impossible for her to shoot a second arrow. That was why he had the confidence to chase after her. Ling Yue's expression was somewhat ugly. She was indeed unable to shoot a second arrow. If she forcefully used it, the consequences would be very serious. It was very likely that her foundation would be crippled. "The three of us don't split up. Let's follow a passage." Ling Yue transmitted her voice. "Let's go." Lu Ming and Xiao Wuji nodded and rushed towards one of the passageways with all their might. "You want to leave? Stay." When the sect leader of the Ling Hung sect saw Lu Ming and the other two leave, he was relieved. He thought that Lu Ming and the other two really did not have any trump cards left and chased after them with all his might. The passageway was very deep and there were still many strange creatures. Fortunately, these strange creatures did not attack them, so they were unimpeded and their speed was very fast. However, the sect leader of the Ling Hung sect was still rapidly approaching. "Kill." The sect leader of the Ling Hung sect shouted and pointed a few times in the air. A few streams of energy shot towards Lu Ming and the other two. He still had some misgivings and did not dare to get too close. He tested Lu Ming and the other two from afar. Facing Lu Ming, Ling Yue, and Xiao Wuji, these three terrifying monsters, he really did not have confidence in his heart. Ling Yue had such a terrifying trump card, but what about Lu Ming and Xiao Wuji? Therefore, he planned to test it out from a distance. If something was wrong, he could quickly escape. Wang. Lu Ming brandished his silver spear, thrusting out a resplendent spear light. Ling Yue and Xiao Wuji also attacked with all their might, blocking the sect leader of the Ling Hung sect. With the help of the sect leader of the Ling Hung sect, they rushed forward at an even faster speed. After a while, they reached the end of the passageway. It was also a secret chamber. Swoosh 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 in the secret chamber, there were no longer any strange creatures. However, there were streams of light constantly dancing in the air. No, these were not streams of light, but treasures. There were divine sabers, divine swords, long spears, mirrors. Every single one of the treasures emitted a shocking wave of energy. They were definitely rare treasures, and their grades were all above the Emperor-level divine weapon. The eyes of Lu Ming and the other two revealed a resplendent light. As for the sect leader of the Ling Hung sect, his eyes were filled with burning greed. "You three little bastards, go to hell," the sect leader of the Ling Hung sect roared, his killing intent surging like a tide. The killing intent in his heart was stimulated to the peak by these treasures. In his opinion, these treasures were all his. This was only one of the passageways. Were there any other treasures in the other passageways? If he obtained these treasures, how much would his strength expand to? How many resources could he exchange for? In the future, it would not be impossible for him to break through to the divine emperor realm. He suppressed the scruples in his heart and pounced towards Lu Ming and the other two. His attacks were like crazy. Streams of finger energy pierced through the void and attacked the vital points of Lu Ming and the other two. Facing the attack of the sect leader of the Ling Hung sect, Lu Ming and the other two could only counterattack with all their might. Lu Ming became one with his spear, transforming into a resplendent spear light that pierced towards the sect leader of the Lingheng sect. However, the sect leader of the Lingheng sect pointed out a finger, and the tip of his finger touched the silver spear. The spear trembled incessantly, and Lu Ming retreated. He felt his entire body tremble, and several of his bones were broken. On the other side, Ling Yue and Xiao Wuji also coughed up blood and retreated. Although the sect leader of the Lingheng sect had been injured by Ling Yue earlier, his strength had been affected and he was not in his peak condition. However, the sect leader of the Lingheng sect was, after all, an existence of the sixth layer of the Divine Emperor realm. His strength was too terrifying, and it was not something that the three of them could contend against. Chapter 3853. Kill. Seeing that he had injured Lu Ming and the other two with one strike, the sect master of the Spirit Hung sect was filled with fighting spirit. His aura became even more terrifying, causing the secret room to rumble. He used his left hand as a palm and his right hand as a finger as he used a terrifying secret technique. The palm print and finger energy alternated as they crushed towards Lu Ming and the other two. He used 70% of his strength in this move. He didn't dare to unleash his full strength in an instant. He left a portion of his strength as a defense, afraid that Ling Yue would use another terrifying killing move. However, even if it was 70% of his strength, it wasn't something that Lu Ming and the other two could contend against. Lu Ming might not die with Qiu Qiu's defense, but he would still be severely injured. As for Xiao Wuji and Ling Yue, they would probably die immediately. You two, what trump cards do you have? Why aren't you using them? Ling Yue called out to Lu Ming and Xiao Wuji. Come on. Xiao Wuji's eyes flashed with a ruthless light. A broken sword suddenly appeared in his hand. Only the hilt was missing the tip of the sword. The sword was pitch black, but it emitted a terrifying aura. It was as if there was a terrifying existence hidden within the sword. Slash. Xiao Wuji shouted. All the divine power in his body surged into the broken sword. Then, he slashed out with all his might. Roar. Suddenly, a terrifying roar rang out. A figure suddenly rushed out from the broken sword. This figure was an Azura king with 99 heads and 999 arms. Kill. The Azura king shouted. Its huge body filled the secret room. With the Azura sword in its hand, it slashed towards the sect master of the Spirit Hung sect. The sect master of the Spirit Hung sect's pupils constricted as he felt a terrifying killing intent. It was as if this sword could take his life. Moreover, he was completely locked onto by this killing intent. There was no way to dodge and he could only take it head-on. Damn it! The sect master of the Spirit Hung sect roared in his heart. As expected, he still had a trump card. These monsters still had a trump card. Right now, there was only one path in front of him, and that was to block it. He believed that Xiao Wuji could only use one move of such a terrifying attack. It was impossible for him to use a second move. As long as he could block this attack, victory would be his. Several divine weapons appeared around his body, emitting dazzling light as they rushed toward the Shura king. At the same time, he unleashed his most powerful secret technique. A finger materialized, and he pointed it out. Boom! A series of explosions erupted. The few divine weapons that the sect master of the Lingheng sect had taken out were directly cut in half by the Shura sword. Immediately after, the finger that he had condensed with a secret technique was also cut in half. Not good. The expression of the sect master of the Lingheng sect changed drastically. This Azura sword was too terrifying. Its power was even stronger than the arrow Ling Yue had shot earlier. Ah! The sect master of the Lingheng sect roared crazily. His divine power surged as he defended with all his might. But the moment the battle sword slashed down, Lingheng sect's sect leader cried out in pain. His body retreated and he crashed into the wall of the secret room. The walls here were abnormally sturdy, so they didn't shatter at all. Instead, they only exploded with loud rumbling sounds. The sect master of the Lingheng sect coughed up large mouthfuls of blood, and his face was abnormally pale. A sword wound appeared on his body. It started from his shoulder, followed his chest, and extended all the way to his waist. That arrow had almost cut him in half. The terrifying power of the Azura sword had destroyed the organs in his body and even affected his soul. In his dantian, the burning star had dimmed. This move was even more severe than the arrow that Ling Yue had shot him with. "Damned little bastard, if you didn't kill me, then the ones who will die will be you," the sect master of the Lingheng sect roared. His killing intent had reached its peak. He swore in his heart that he would make Lu Ming and the other two beg for death and suffer the most painful torture in the world. However, the next voice made him feel like he had fallen into an ice cellar, and his body turned cold. "Is that so? I haven't attacked yet." Lu Ming's cold voice rang out as a round bead appeared in his palm. Gale bead. Then, Lu Ming used the Great Divine Wind technique. Inside the gale bead, a terrifying gale was instantly drawn out by Lu Ming. Whoosh whoosh. The violent and scorching gale seemed to have transformed into a gale dragon. It let out a terrifying howl as it swept towards the sect master of the Lingheng sect. The sect master of the Lingheng sect had just been injured by Xiao Wuji. Moreover, Lu Ming's timing was flawless. He had no time to dodge at all and was instantly swept into the gale. Puff puff puff. The terrifying gale instantly cut numerous wounds on the body of the sect master of the Lingheng sect. Moreover, each wound had a terrifying temperature. The body of the sect master of the Lingheng sect was filled with raging flames. Ah! The sect master of the Lingheng sect screamed miserably. Although he circulated his divine power with all his might to block it, he couldn't block it at all. The gale of the gale bead was extremely terrifying. It was left behind by an existence that could destroy the galaxy. Its power was too shocking. The gale directly broke through the divine power of the sect master of the Lingheng sect and broke into his body. He watched helplessly as his body was continuously sliced apart and burned to ashes. In just a few breaths, the body of the sect master of the Lingheng sect could not hold on any longer and turned into ashes. His soul appeared and wanted to rush out. However, he discovered that his soul was even more fragile. "Ah, I can't accept this, I can't accept this." The sect master of the Lingheng sect let out a furious and unwilling roar. He had always been scheming and had planned for tens of millions of years. He had been waiting here for the controller of the Life Spirit Stone Fragment to come so that he could seize more Life Spirit Stone Fragments and monopolize the treasures of the Life Spirit Heavenly Court. Everything went very smoothly. As expected, the person he had been waiting for had arrived. But in the end, the few people he had been waiting for were too monstrous and too terrifying. With his cultivation, he was actually no match for these monstrous geniuses. He was unwilling to accept this. But the outcome was already decided. In the next moment, his soul was also turned into ashes in the gale. The sect master of the Lingheng sect, who could be considered an ambitious and ruthless figure, fell just like that under the continuous attacks of three peerless geniuses. However, the Life Spirit Stone Fragment left behind by the sect master of the Lingheng sect was not destroyed. In fact, although the gale was terrifying, it definitely could not destroy the Life Spirit Stone Fragment. It could not even leave the slightest bit of damage. Lu Ming reached out and grabbed the Life Spirit Stone Fragment in his hand. Xiao Wuji let out a long breath and took a few steps back. His aura was weak and his face was pale. He hurriedly put away the broken sword. Obviously, just like the arrow that Ling Yue had shot before, after Xiao Wuji slashed out with this sword, he had consumed a lot of energy, causing a huge burden on his body. He glanced at the Life Spirit Stone Fragment in Lu Ming's hand and didn't say anything. Instead, he took out a divine pill and swallowed it, beginning to recover. Ling Yue also looked at the Life Spirit Stone Fragment in Lu Ming's hand. A complicated look flashed across her eyes, but in the end, she didn't say anything. Chapter 3854. Swallow him for me. Lu Ming's Life Spirit Origin Stone Fragment, the Rock Spirit, cried out in excitement. Lu Ming didn't immediately give it to the Life Spirit Origin Stone, the Rock Spirit sized it up. The life spirit origin stone fragment left behind by the Spirit Hung sect's sect master was much smaller than Lu Ming's. It was about the same as the life spirit origin stone fragment that he had before fusing with Murong Qiu Shui. It should only be a small piece. With a thought, Lu Ming put away the life spirit origin stone fragment. Facing Ling Yuwei and Xiu Wuji, he was very confident. Now that Qiu Qiu could make a move, with his cooperation, his battle strength was completely above Xiu Wuji and Ling Yuwei. Of course, Ling Yuwei and Xiu Wuji had terrifying trump cards, but so did Lu Ming. The Gale Pearl was won, and at the critical moment, there was the purple copper coffin. After Lu Ming put away the life spirit origin stone fragment, the three of them looked at the flying treasures in the sky, their eyes shining brightly. Shua shua shua, the three of them moved at the same time, rushing out and pouncing towards the weapons. Lu Ming was the first to pounce on a long spear. Although he had a forbidden body, all kinds of secret techniques could be turned into secret technique runes and fused into his cells. It was the same for any weapon he used. However, he still had a special feeling for long spears, so his first choice was a long spear-type divine weapon. Lu Ming grabbed at a fiery red long spear, but this long spear was very slippery. In a flash, like a long snake, it flew out of Lu Ming's palm. "Want to leave? Stay for me," Lu Ming shouted in his heart. His palm glowed and immediately, several trapping secret techniques were used, trapping the fiery red long spear. The fiery red long spear tried to rush left and right, but it couldn't rush out. Lu Ming exerted his strength and the forbidden power enveloped the fiery red long spear. On the fiery red long spear, there was a layer of light covering it, but at this moment, this layer of light was destroyed by the forbidden power. After it was destroyed, the long spear stopped moving. Lu Ming grabbed it and put it into his storage ring. Then, Lu Ming pounced on the next weapon. In this secret chamber, there were about a dozen weapons, which were quickly plundered clean by the three of them. Lu Ming obtained a total of 5 divine weapons, all of which were of very high levels. Although they were not as good as the gravity orb, they were still very valuable. Ling Yuwei and Xiu Wuji had also gained a lot. Everyone's faces revealed smiles. Although this trip was a little unexpected and the sect master of the Lingheng sect had changed, it was still worth it. The three of them sized up the secret chamber. There were no other passageways in this secret chamber. This was the end. However, there were other secret rooms. The three of them moved along the passage and returned to the largest secret chamber at the beginning. At this moment, there were no longer any strange creatures here. All the strange creatures had already rushed out of the door. Outside the door, there were still intense shouts of killing. Clearly, the strange creatures and the people of the Lingheng sect were still fighting. However, no one was able to rush in. "Let's split up," Xiu Wuji said. "All right, split up." Lu Ming and Ling Yuwei also nodded. Now that the sect master of the Lingheng sect had been eliminated by them, no one else came in. There was no need for them to gather together. Splitting up and obtaining their own opportunities was the most important thing. With a flash, the three of them chose a passage and rushed in. A moment later, Lu Ming passed through a passage and arrived at the end of the passage. At the end of the passage was also a secret chamber. However, this secret chamber was much smaller than the secret chamber where he had obtained the divine weapon. There were no treasures flying around either. There were only some miscellaneous boxes piled up there. Lu Ming walked over and casually opened a box. He found that there were some jade talismans inside. Lu Ming picked up a jade talisman and scanned it with his spiritual sense. He revealed a trace of disappointment. The jade talisman only recorded a method to refine divine pills. Moreover, it wasn't of a particularly high level and could be bought outside. Lu Ming was currently focusing on cultivation, so he didn't have the time or energy to cultivate the Tao of Alchemy. In the Minor Thousand World, Lu Ming was proficient in the Tao of Alchemy. However, the Tao of Alchemy in the Minor Thousand World was too different from the divine pills in the Great Desolate Universe. Lu Ming couldn't be bothered to spend time studying it. Next, Lu Ming picked up the remaining jade talismans and looked through them one by one. Unfortunately, they were all knowledge related to alchemy and weren't of much use. Lu Ming reluctantly put it away. He would give it away when he had the chance. After all, he still had family and friends. Perhaps some of them could use it. Then, Lu Ming continued to look through the second box. Inside, there were still some methods to refine divine pills. 3 consecutive boxes were all jade talismans used to refine divine pills. From the 4th box onwards, there were some jade talismans used to refine divine weapons. Just like the Tao of alchemy, they were also useless. Lu Ming kept them all in a storage ring. The 5th, 5th, and 6th boxes were all about the same. However, when Lu Ming opened the 7th box, his eyes lit up. There were also some jade talismans in this box, but these jade talismans recorded secret techniques. There were different secret techniques. Each jade talisman recorded a secret technique. The last few boxes recorded all kinds of secret techniques. There were hundreds of them. Lu Ming was overjoyed. Finally, there were things that were of great use to him. However, there was no time to look at them carefully now. Lu Ming kept them all. He would slowly look through them when he had time. After putting them away, the secret chamber was already empty. Lu Ming left the secret chamber and returned to the secret chamber outside. Then, he rushed to another passage. Behind this passage was another secret chamber. In this secret chamber, there were also several divine weapons flying in the air. Lu Ming was overjoyed. His figure flashed and kept these divine weapons one by one. There were a total of 6 divine weapons. Adding the previous 5, he had a total of 11 high-grade divine weapons. Each divine weapon was priceless. They could be sold for a sky-high price outside. This treasure land left behind by the Fate Heavenly Court was indeed worthy of its reputation. This was only a treasure land. One could imagine how many treasures there were in the 9 great Life Soul halls and the most important Life Soul Heavenly Court. Lu Ming left this place and hurried to the next passageway. It was a pity that the secret chamber at the end of this passageway was empty. Could it be that Ling Yuwei and Xiao Wuji have already gotten there first? Lu Ming's heart stirred. He quickly left this passage and entered the next one. Unfortunately, it was still the same. It was empty. There was nothing. Lu Ming reckoned that Ling Yuwei or Xiao Wuji had really gotten there first. After all, there were only about 10 passages here. Suddenly, Lu Ming heard a rumbling sound coming from the middle of the passage. Although it seemed to be very far away, Lu Ming could still clearly see it. Someone is making a move in this passage. Lu Ming's heart stirred as he guessed who it was. Suddenly, a figure flashed out from another passage. It was Ling Yuwei. Chapter 3855. In another passageway, Ling Yuwei's figure appeared. The moment Ling Yuwei appeared, she also sensed that there were sounds of fighting coming from the depths of the middle passageway. Lu Ming and Ling Yuwei looked at each other and nodded silently. Then, the two of them rushed towards the middle passageway at the same time. When they arrived at the end of the passageway, they discovered that it was also a secret room. However, this secret room was extremely large. It was close to the outermost secret room. In this secret room, there were 9 steps. On each step, there was a platform, and on each platform, there was a large seal floating. The color of each seal was different. Some were red, some were green, and some were white. Every seal was enveloped by a layer of light. As for Xiao Wuji, he was on one of the platforms, constantly attacking the light barrier outside the seal, emitting a violent rumbling sound. This was the sound that Lu Ming and the others had heard just now. The moment Lu Ming and Ling Yuwei arrived, Xiao Wuji sensed them. The seal here should have clues to the 9 Great Soul Palaces. However, there are restrictions protecting it, so it's very difficult for one person to break through. We need to work together. Xiao Wuji's voice rang out. Lu Ming and Ling Yuwei sneered. Why didn't Xiao Wuji send a sound transmission to Lu Ming and Ling Yuwei to ask them to join hands? At this moment, seeing that Lu Ming and Ling Yuwei had arrived, they had joined hands. It was obvious that if possible, Xiao Wuji wanted to take it all for himself. Let's try the other seals first. Ling Yuwei directly rushed towards the other seal. Before she even arrived, arrows were continuously shot out. Bang bang bang, One arrow after another struck the light barrier outside the seal. The light barrier only shook violently, but it did not break. Ling Yuwei shouted and shot out her strongest arrow. Unfortunately, it still did not break through. It seemed that what Xiao Wuji said was true. It was indeed difficult for a single person to break through, unless they used their trump card. However, the consumption of trump cards was too great, so it was not suitable to use them now. Let's attack together. If there really are clues to the 9 Great Soul Palaces, we will naturally share them. We will need to work together to explore the Soul Palace later. Xiao Wuji Dao. Ling Yuwei could only nod her head with a gloomy face and head towards Xiao Wuji's platform. Lu Ming also stepped onto Xiao Wuji's platform. The 3 of them surrounded the seal. It was blue in color, like a blue crystal. It was very beautiful. As the seal floated in the air, they could even see through the light barrier that the bottom of the seal was engraved with dense lines. These lines interweaved together, resembling a map. Lu Ming and Ling Yuwei's eyes lit up. Could it be that the seal really contained clues to the 9 Soul Palaces, and that the bottom of the seal was a map to the 9 Soul Palaces? The 9 seals corresponded to the 9 Soul Palaces. The more he thought about it, the more likely it seemed. Make your move, Ling Yuwei said somewhat impatiently. Then, the 3 of them attacked at the same time. Divine light burst forth and turned into terrifying attacks that attacked the light barrier. The light shield shook violently, but it did not break. However, they could clearly feel that as they attacked, the energy of the light barrier was constantly being depleted, and its power was constantly weakening. As long as they could continue to weaken and maintain it for a period of time, they would definitely be able to break it. The 3 of them did not stop attacking. After half an hour, the light barrier had already become dim. Catcher. In the end, the sound of porcelain shattering came from the light barrier. Then, with a bang, it exploded and turned into specks of light that dissipated. The eyes of the 3 flashed, and almost at the same time, they reached out to grab the blue seal. However, when they grabbed the seal at the same time, they grabbed empty air. This seal was like a phantom. It could be seen but not grasped. The expressions of the 3 of them immediately turned ugly. Fake. Ling Yuwei frowned. It seems that it really is fake. It's just a projection, not a real body, Lu Ming said. There are a total of 9 seals. They might not all be fake. Let's go take a look at the next one, Xiao Wuji suggested. Sure, but let's make it clear first. No one can think of taking the seal for themselves. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite, Ling Yuwei said. Of course. Lu Ming and Xiao Wuji nodded. Then, the 3 of them came to the next platform and saw a fiery red seal. The seal was also enveloped by a layer of light barrier. The 3 of them still attacked together. After half an hour, they broke through the light barrier. However, the seal was still not a real body. It was still a projection. This time, the 3 of them looked a little ugly. Could it be that the 9 seals were all phantoms and not real bodies? The 3 of them were naturally unwilling. How could they be satisfied if they did not open all of them? However, after breaking through 2 seals in a row, the 3 of them had exhausted a lot of energy and needed to recover. Lu Ming was still fine. The taboo body was distributed in 60 trillion cells. As long as the taboo power was still there, it would be difficult for him to get tired. However, he also had to pretend, so he took out a few divine pills and swallowed them. After all, his cells had to store potential. Ling Yuwei and Xiao Wuji also took out divine pills and refined them to recover. A few hours later, Ling Yuwei and Xiao Wuji had recovered to their peak state. Lu Ming also pretended to get up. The 3 of them continued to attack the light barrier outside the next seal. However, after breaking through, it was still a phantom. The 3 of them were unwilling to give up and continued to attack. The 4th seal was still a phantom. The 3 of them recovered and continued to attack. However, when they broke through the 5th seal, they finally had a great harvest. The 5th seal was a snow-white seal. This one was not a phantom, but a real one. The 3 of them were ecstatic. Xiao Wuji took the lead and held the seal in his hand, carefully examining it. The surface of the seal was carved with snow-white patterns. Most importantly, it was filled with mysterious lines that intertwined together. It looked like a map. Input your divine power and take a look, Ling Yuwei said expectantly. Xiao Wuji nodded and inserted his divine power into the snow-white seal. Suddenly, the seal glowed, especially the lines at the bottom of the seal. They actually wriggled and flew out from the bottom of the seal. They floated in the air and then combined in a mysterious pattern to form a map. It really is a map. The three of their eyes lit up. They were overjoyed. If I'm not wrong, this map should be the map to Bing Xian's Life Spirit Palace. Xiao Wuji could not hide the excitement on his face. How about you leave this seal to me for safekeeping for now? Don't worry, I can swear on my life source that I will not take it for myself, Xiao Wuji said. Lu Ming and Ling Yuwei pondered for a moment and nodded. In any case, they had already memorized the map. Xiao Wuji took out a storage ring and put away the snow-white seal. Then, they continued to attack the remaining seals. Unfortunately, when they broke through the remaining 4 seals, they did not gain anything. The remaining 4 seals were all phantoms. Chapter 3856. In the end, only one of the 9 seals was real. The other 8 were all illusions. Looks like there's only one clue to the Life Spirit Hall here. The other 8 Life Spirit Halls need to be obtained through other channels, Lu Ming said. Even if there's only one clue, it's still worth it. As long as there are treasures left behind in Bing Xian's Life Spirit Hall, they're definitely very shocking. It's definitely not something this place can compare to, Xiao Wuji said with a fiery gaze. Let's go and see if there are any treasures in the other passageways. If there aren't any, we'll leave this place as soon as possible and explore Bing Xian's Life Spirit Hall, Ling Yuwei said. Immediately, they explored the other passageways. However, they had almost explored all of these passageways, so they didn't gain much. Then, they left this place. As soon as they left the door, they found that there were almost no living people outside. Corpses were lying everywhere. They were all experts of the Lingheng sect. As for the remaining experts of the Lingheng sect, they had probably fought with those strange creatures in other places. However, there were many storage rings left underground. The 3 of them naturally wouldn't miss them. In a flash, they put away the storage rings here and flew towards the exit. After flying for a distance, a miserable scream rang out. The 3 of them saw a middle-aged man being torn apart alive by a group of strange creatures. However, those strange creatures didn't seem to see Lu Ming and the other 2 and rushed past them. The 3 of them knew that this was due to the Life Spirit Origin Stone fragments. They increased their speed. Along the way, they could see those strange creatures attacking others from time to time. This world had already become a purgatory. Why aren't they attacked by those strange creatures? They must have treasures on them that can deter those strange creatures. Snatch them, only then can we survive. Not far away, a group of people flew past. These people all had bloodstains on their bodies. All of them were injured. There were 15 of them. They had also come in to hunt soul beasts, but they were attacked by the strange creatures. There were originally more than 20 people, but only 15 people were left. It was not easy for them to break out of the encirclement. As they flew, they discovered that Lu Ming and the other 2 weren't attacked by the strange creatures. They immediately guessed that Lu Ming must have some kind of treasure on him that could deter the strange creatures. There was still quite a distance to the exit. And now, this evil spirit realm was filled with strange creatures. With their strength, it would be very difficult for them to successfully reach the exit. However, with Lu Ming's treasures, reaching the exit would be a piece of cake. Thinking of this, a cold killing intent flashed in their hearts. They immediately flew towards the 3 of them, blocking the path of Lu Ming's group. Everyone, what is the meaning of this? Ling Yuwei said with a frown. What do you mean? Do you have any treasures that can deter those strange creatures? Hand them over, a red-skinned man shouted. That's right. We do have a treasure that can deter strange creatures, but it's not something you can have. Hurry up and get lost. If you don't, I don't mind keeping you here. This time, It was Xiao Wuji who spoke. The Azura clan was a clan that killed people. These people dared to attack him, they were simply courting death. He, a mere quasi-emperor, you're quite arrogant. Let's see how you're going to keep us here, shouted the red-skinned man coldly. He held a blood-red axe in his hand and swung it at Xiao Wuji's head. That red-skinned man had the strength of the first godly Emperor Leia. No wonder he didn't put Xiao Wuji in his eyes. However, his axe only chopped down halfway before it stopped. This was because a ray of black light shot out from Xiao Wuji's hand and pierced through the red-skinned man's forehead. The red-skinned man's eyes were wide open. He had died. What? The other 14 people were astonished. They hadn't thought that a quasi-emperor would be able to kill a godly emperor so easily. He's a monster. Let's attack together, shouted the others. The remaining 14 people attacked together. A dozen attacks moved towards Lu Ming and the other two. One of them was a cultivator of the second godly Emperor Leia. His attacks were terrifying. You want to die, shouted Lu Ming. Cho turned into a silver spear. He raised his spear and broke through the attacks, moving towards the cultivator of the second godly Emperor Leia. It was unbelievably fast. It looked like a silver lightning bolt. Slash. The cultivator of the second godly Emperor Leia was instantly killed. The spear pierced through his forehead. At the same time, Xiao Wuji and Ling Yuwei attacked. The remaining people couldn't withstand a single attack. In the blink of an eye, only a few of them were left. Run. The remaining people were scared out of their wits. They started running away madly. You want to leave now? It's too late. Xiao Wuji snorted coldly, his killing intent chilling. A vertical eye appeared between his brows, emitting rays of azura light. The remaining people were swept by the azura light and died on the spot. A bunch of idiots, said Xiao Wuji coldly. Lu Ming and Ling Yuwei didn't say anything. The three of them continued flying towards the exit. After that, they didn't encounter any accidents. Soon, the three of them arrived at the exit. At the exit, many people were flying towards it in fear. Lu Ming blended into the crowd and flew out of the exit. Outside the exit, there were people from the Lingheng sect guarding it. However, the Lingheng sect was already in chaos. The Lingheng sect patriarch and many other higher-ups had died in the evil spirit world. No one cared about Lu Ming and the other two. The three of them easily left the Lingheng sect's territory. On a remote planet, the three of them stopped and started studying the map on the Big Seal. The map was very complicated. They often had to use other maps to compare and analyze them to find the specific location. After studying for a while, the three of them finally found the specific location. It's actually in the chaotic devil starfield. Ling Yuwei frowned. The chaotic devil starfield? Where is it? Asked Lu Ming. The chaotic devil starfield is a special starfield. It's close to the demon race. It's very chaotic. There are many big and small forces attacking each other. There are even many interstellar pirates who have nests there. Ling Yuwei explained. It's close to the demon race. Does the demon race not care? Lu Ming asked. The demon race was one of the top 10 races and was incomparably powerful. Beside the demon race, there was actually such a chaotic starfield that the demon race didn't care about. It's said that the demon race deliberately didn't care and let Fang Zhong go. This is because the demon race would often send geniuses to the chaotic devil starfield to train. Obviously, the demon race treated the chaotic devil starfield as a training ground for the geniuses of the demon race. Ling Yuwei said. The demon race was the same as the Azura race. They were also very bloodthirsty. Their cultivation was very cruel and they had to experience all kinds of terrifying tempering. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.